In the annals of history, few figures have captured the imagination as profoundly as Cleopatra's seven Philopator, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Her story, shrouded in myth and legend, is a captivating tale of power, passion, and political intrigue that unfolded against the backdrop of the sprawling Nile, the grandeur of Alexandria, and the looming might of Rome. Cleopatra's reign, which began in 51 BC, was marked by tumultuous times in Egypt and the wider Mediterranean world. It was an era when empires clashed, alliances shifted, and the fate of nations hung in the balance. Beyond the well-known narratives of her relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, there exists a trove of lesser-known facets of Cleopatra's life and character that have often been overshadowed by the romanticized tales of her seductive allure. This story aims to delve into these unexplored territories, revealing Cleopatra as more than just a captivating seductress. She was a woman of immense intellect, a gifted linguist, and a shrewd diplomat who skillfully navigated the treacherous waters of politics and power in her relentless pursuit of Egypt's sovereignty. To unravel the enigma that is Cleopatra, this narrative will be divided into several chapters, each delving into a distinct phase of her life and reign. In this comprehensive exploration, we will start with her early years, tracing her family background, early education, and the political and social milieu that shaped her character. From there, we will progress to pivotal moments in her reign, examining her diplomacy with Rome, her profound love affair with Mark Antony, and the tragic conclusion of her rule. Along the way, we will challenge common misconceptions and shed light on the real Cleopatra, offering readers a more nuanced understanding of her historical significance. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC into the storied Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek ruling family that had maintained control over Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. This lineage, which traced its roots to Ptolemy I Soter, one of Alexander the Great's generals, marked Cleopatra as a true heir to the ancient pharaohs. However, it also meant that she was part of a fractured and often contentious dynasty, as rival siblings and family members vied for power within the Ptolemaic court. Cleopatra's own lineage was intertwined with the complexities of incestuous marriages that were customary among the Ptolemaic rulers to preserve the purity of their bloodline. Her family tree was a tangle of intrigue, with siblings often marrying each other, and power struggles brewing in the shadows. This tumultuous backdrop would shape her understanding of politics and power from a young age. Cleopatra's upbringing was marked by a commitment to education that was unusual for a royal in her era. Fluent in multiple languages, including Greek, Egyptian, and Aramaic, she possessed a linguistic prowess that allowed her to converse fluently with diverse groups within her kingdom and beyond. Her mastery of languages was not merely a product of aristocratic privilege, it was a reflection of her insatiable intellectual curiosity and a strategic tool that she would later use in diplomacy and governance. Additionally, Cleopatra displayed an appetite for learning that extended beyond language. She was well versed in philosophy, mathematics, and science, and her court became a haven for scholars and thinkers of her time. This commitment to intellectual pursuits set her apart from many of her contemporaries and would later define her reign as a period of cultural flourishing in Egypt. Cleopatra came of age in a turbulent political climate. Egypt, while still a mighty kingdom, had been reduced to a client state of Rome, a result of political machinations and power struggles within her own family. The Ptolemaic dynasty was in decline, and Egypt faced internal unrest as well as external threats. The powerful Roman Republic, led by figures like Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Cicero, cast a long shadow over the Mediterranean, and Egypt's fate was increasingly entwined with that of Rome. It was within this context of political vulnerability and uncertainty that Cleopatra ascended to the throne, facing formidable challenges as she sought to assert her authority and safeguard Egypt's independence. This period of her life would prove to be a crucible, shaping her into the remarkable leader and strategist she would become. As we venture deeper into Cleopatra's early years and rise to power, we will uncover the formative experiences that molded her into the charismatic, multilingual, and politically astute pharaoh she was destined to be. Cleopatra's ascent to the throne of Egypt was marked by a series of daunting challenges that tested her mettle and resourcefulness. The Ptolemaic dynasty, a lineage rife with intrigue and familial strife, had seen better days. When she took the reins of power in 51 BC, Cleopatra confronted an array of obstacles that threatened her authority. Foremost among these challenges was the shadowy presence of her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, with whom she was meant to share the throne. However, Ptolemy XIII was initially manipulated by a cabal of regents, including the cunning eunuch Pothinus and the formidable general Achilles. These advisors, who were wary of Cleopatra's influence, sought to exploit her youth and relative inexperience. Cleopatra's foremost task was to establish her legitimacy as the rightful ruler of Egypt. She employed a blend of charm, intelligence, and political savvy to win the loyalty of her subjects. A master of public relations, she skillfully portrayed herself as the earthly incarnation of the goddess Isis, thereby reinforcing her divine right to rule. Her charisma and resolve began to sway the Egyptian populace, but the struggle for political stability was far from over. Within the intricate web of the Ptolemaic dynasty, sibling rivalries and power struggles were par for the course. Cleopatra's relationship with her siblings, particularly her brother Ptolemy XIII, was a complex blend of familial loyalty and political maneuvering. While they shared the throne, their dynamic was fraught with tension. Cleopatra's younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, was initially a pawn in the hands of regents who sought to undermine her authority. The power play within the Ptolemaic family was, in many ways, a reflection of the dynasty's long-standing tradition of co-rule among siblings. Cleopatra's adversaries believed that her youth and inexperience could be exploited to their advantage. Cleopatra, however, possessed a keen understanding of the importance of family alliances in the Ptolemaic court. She often formed strategic partnerships with her siblings, even entering into marriages with them to maintain the family's grip on power. These intricate family dynamics were a central aspect of her political strategy, as she sought to both preserve her own authority and safeguard the dynasty's standing. As Cleopatra assumed her role as pharaoh, Egypt found itself amidst a maelstrom of political instability and external threats. Rome, the preeminent power of the era, loomed large, casting a long shadow over the Mediterranean. Cleopatra recognized the necessity of cultivating positive relations with Rome's influential figures to secure Egypt's interests. During the early years of her reign, Cleopatra enacted a series of policies aimed at rejuvenating Egypt's cultural and economic vitality. She was committed to reviving the ancient traditions of Egypt, positioning herself as a guardian of the nation's rich heritage. Her efforts to bolster the Egyptian economy included measures to stimulate trade, enhance agricultural productivity, and invest in infrastructure projects. Beyond these initiatives, Cleopatra's reign was distinguished by a fervent dedication to intellectual and cultural flourishing. Her court became a beacon of enlightenment, attracting scholars, philosophers, and thinkers of her time. This commitment to knowledge and culture left an enduring imprint on Egypt, cementing Cleopatra's reputation as a ruler who prioritized the well-being and intellectual growth of her subjects. As Cleopatra's early policies began to shape the trajectory of her reign, her leadership style and vision for Egypt became increasingly evident, setting the stage for the remarkable chapters of her life that would follow. Cleopatra's reign was marked by a keen sense of diplomacy, and her interactions with Rome, particularly with Julius Caesar, played a pivotal role in shaping her destiny and the course of Egypt. Her diplomatic efforts were characterized by a blend of political astuteness, charisma, and a deep understanding of the power dynamics of the time. In 48 BC, Cleopatra arrived in Alexandria, having been exiled by her brother and rival, Ptolemy XIII. It was at this juncture that she embarked on a daring and audacious diplomatic mission to meet Julius Caesar, the Roman general and statesman who had recently arrived in Egypt. Determined to secure Caesar's support and regain her throne, Cleopatra famously smuggled herself into Caesar's presence rolled up in a carpet, a gambit that would mark the beginning of a fateful relationship. Cleopatra's charismatic presence and eloquence left a profound impression on Caesar. He was drawn to her intelligence and resolve, recognizing the potential for a valuable political alliance. Cleopatra, for her part, saw in Caesar not only a potential ally but also a means to end her exile and regain her throne. Their ensuing relationship became more than a political alliance. It evolved into a passionate affair that would alter the course of history. To understand Cleopatra's diplomatic overtures and the significance of her relationship with Julius Caesar, one must delve into the complex political milieu of the Roman Republic during the 1st century BC. The Roman Republic was a cauldron of political rivalries, factionalism, and shifting alliances. At the time of Cleopatra's interactions with Rome, the Republic was beset by internal strife. The First Triumvirate, an informal alliance between Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, had crumbled, and the political tug-of-war between the Optimates and the populace had intensified. Julius Caesar had emerged as a prominent figure, having crossed the Rubicon in 49 BC and initiating a civil war against the Senate. Cleopatra's arrival in Rome coincided with Caesar's rise to power, and her presence added another layer of intrigue to the already volatile political landscape. Caesar's control over Egypt was strategically vital for his ambitions, given Egypt's wealth and resources, particularly its grain supplies. This backdrop of Roman political turmoil would have profound implications for Cleopatra's fate and Egypt's future. Cleopatra's relationship with Julius Caesar had multifaceted significance. Beyond the personal connection, it had far-reaching implications for Egypt's autonomy and the geopolitical landscape of the Mediterranean. Firstly, her alliance with Caesar enabled her to regain her throne and solidify her position as pharaoh of Egypt. Caesar's military intervention in her favor led to the defeat of Ptolemy XIII and his forces at the Battle of the Nile. Cleopatra's rule was reaffirmed, albeit as a client ruler of Rome, and she became Egypt's undisputed sovereign. Secondly, Cleopatra and Caesar's union resulted in the birth of a son, Ptolemy XV Philopator Philometor Caesar, commonly known as Caesarion. The existence of a child with royal Ptolemaic blood and Roman heritage further solidified her claim to the Egyptian throne and presented a potential heir who embodied the union of two powerful civilizations. Additionally, Cleopatra's relationship with Caesar elevated her status on the international stage. She wielded significant influence in Rome, and her ability to negotiate with the most powerful man in the Roman Republic ensured that Egypt remained a vital player in the intricate web of Roman politics. In sum, Cleopatra's diplomacy with Rome, personified through her relationship with Julius Caesar, secured her rule, preserved Egypt's autonomy to some extent, and thrust her into the heart of Roman power dynamics. It marked a pivotal phase in her life, one that set the stage for even greater political intrigue and passionate entanglements to come. The assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC sent shockwaves through the Roman Republic and irrevocably altered Cleopatra's fate. Following Caesar's death, Rome plunged into political chaos. The power vacuum left by the fallen dictator unleashed a flurry of intrigue, rivalries, and shifting allegiances. For Cleopatra, this tumultuous period presented a critical juncture. She found herself in a precarious position, as her alliance with Caesar had made her a target of his adversaries. Her connection to Caesar was a double-edged sword. It had secured her rule in Egypt, but also made her a symbol of foreign influence in Rome. In the wake of Caesar's assassination, Cleopatra returned to Egypt, where she faced a renewed threat from her brother Ptolemy XIV, who had ascended to the throne with the backing of Rome. Cleopatra's political acumen and resolve came to the fore once again as she navigated these treacherous waters. Cleopatra's next chapter unfolded in the grand city of Tarsus in 41 BC, where she met Mark Antony, one of the most powerful men in Rome and a member of the Second Triumvirate. Antony had summoned Cleopatra to answer questions about her loyalty to Rome and her potential role in Caesar's assassination. Cleopatra's arrival in Tarsus was a spectacle designed to captivate Antony's attention. She entered the city aboard a luxurious barge, adorned as the goddess Aphrodite, surrounded by attendants who showered her with exotic riches. Her beauty, intelligence, and charm immediately ensnared Antony's heart. Their relationship soon transcended the bounds of political diplomacy. Cleopatra and Antony fell deeply in love, igniting a passionate romance that would become one of history's most legendary love stories. Their union produced 3 children, further entwining their fates. However, the ramifications of their love affair reverberated far beyond their personal lives. In Rome, Cleopatra became a polarizing figure. Her influence over Antony was perceived by his political rivals as a threat to the stability of the Roman Republic. The alliance between Antony and Cleopatra also ignited a power struggle within the Second Triumvirate, pitting Antony against Octavian and Lepidus. The culmination of this political tension would be the famous Battle of Actium in 31 BC, a cataclysmic clash that would determine the fate of Rome and Egypt. Cleopatra and Antony's relationship was a complex interplay of love, politics, and power. They found in each other not only passionate partners but also kindred spirits who shared a vision of a world where Egypt would rise to prominence once more and Rome would be the willing ally. Their dynamic was characterized by mutual admiration and respect. Antony was captivated by Cleopatra's intellect, her command of languages, and her charisma. Cleopatra, in turn, admired Antony's military prowess, his chivalry, and his commitment to their shared ambitions. Together, they formed a formidable partnership. Cleopatra provided Antony with the wealth and resources of Egypt, while he lent her the military might of Rome. Their shared goal was to establish a vast empire that would encompass Egypt, Rome, and their conquered territories. However, their ambitions would ultimately lead to their downfall. The Battle of Actium in 31 BC saw the forces of Antony and Cleopatra pitted against those of Octavian. Cleopatra's presence in the conflict served as a rallying point for Antony's troops but also painted him as a foreign puppet in the eyes of the Roman populace. The battle ended in defeat for Antony and Cleopatra, and the star-crossed lovers fled back to Egypt. Realizing that they were cornered and facing certain capture by Octavian's forces, Cleopatra and Antony took their own lives in 30 BC, marking the tragic conclusion of their epic romance. The legacy of Cleopatra and Mark Antony's relationship is profound. Their love affair has been immortalized in literature, art, and popular culture, cementing their status as one of history's most enduring and romantic couples. Their story is a poignant reminder of the intertwining forces of love and politics, where passion and ambition converge to shape the destiny of empires. The Battle of Actium, fought on September 2, 31 BC, off the western coast of Greece, was a pivotal moment in history, marking the culmination of a bitter power struggle between 2 of Rome's most formidable figures, Octavian and Mark Antony. This clash would have far-reaching consequences, determining the fate of Rome and Egypt. Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, had become the de facto leader of Rome after the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC. A shrewd politician, Octavian had managed to consolidate his power and form an alliance with Marcus Aemilius Lepidus and Mark Antony, constituting the Second Triumvirate. However, the triumvirate's cohesion was fragile, and political rivalries simmered beneath the surface. The seeds of conflict between Octavian and Antony were sown, in part, due to Antony's infatuation with Cleopatra. Octavian portrayed Antony as being under the enchanting spell of the Egyptian queen, characterizing him as neglecting his responsibilities in Rome. Cleopatra's perceived influence over Antony and her ambitions to expand her empire raised suspicions in Rome and provided Octavian with a pretext to challenge his rival. Cleopatra, recognizing the mounting tensions between Octavian and Antony, was faced with a difficult choice in the lead-up to the Battle of Actium. She had become deeply entwined in Antony's affairs, both personally and politically, and their love affair had produced children. In the years preceding the battle, Cleopatra had actively supported Antony's ambitions, supplying him with Egyptian resources and troops. However, as the situation deteriorated, she faced a dilemma. Her presence alongside Antony's forces was a rallying point for his troops, but it also solidified the perception that Antony was under her influence, which played into Octavian's propaganda. Cleopatra's decisions in this critical period would have far-reaching consequences. She chose to accompany Antony's fleet into the Battle of Actium in a bid to show her commitment to his cause and to provide moral support. However, this decision proved costly. The Battle of Actium was a devastating defeat for the combined forces of Antony and Cleopatra. Octavian's fleet, led by capable admirals like Agrippa, outmaneuvered and overwhelmed Antony's navy. Cleopatra's presence in the battle did not change the outcome. In fact, her swift retreat from the battlefield with her fleet, followed by Antony, marked a turning point. Following their defeat at Actium, Cleopatra and Antony retreated to Egypt, pursued by Octavian's forces. The situation became increasingly dire as they found themselves isolated and cornered. Realizing that their capture would likely result in public humiliation and execution in Rome, Cleopatra and Antony chose a tragic end. In 30 BC, in a gesture of defiance and love, they both took their own lives. Cleopatra famously committed suicide by allowing herself to be bitten by an asp, a venomous snake. With the deaths of Cleopatra and Antony, Egypt was plunged into a state of turmoil. Octavian, now the undisputed leader of Rome, asserted his authority over Egypt and absorbed it into the Roman Empire. Egypt's ancient and storied history as an independent kingdom came to an end, and it became a province of Rome. The fall of Egypt marked a turning point in the history of the Mediterranean world. Octavian's victory at Actium secured his position as Rome's first emperor, Augustus, and ushered in a period of relative stability known as the Pax Romana. Egypt, once a powerful and culturally rich kingdom, was reduced to a mere province, and Cleopatra's legacy lived on in myth and legend. Cleopatra's life and reign have been steeped in myths and misconceptions that have endured for centuries. It's essential to sift through the layers of legend and unearth the truth behind her story. One common misconception is that Cleopatra was solely defined by her beauty and seductive prowess. While she was undoubtedly charismatic and intelligent, reducing her to mere physical allure oversimplifies her complex character and political acumen. Another misconception is that Cleopatra was purely an Egyptian queen. In reality, she was of Greek descent, part of the Ptolemaic dynasty that ruled Egypt after the conquests of Alexander the Great. Her lineage was Greek, and she was raised with Greek culture and traditions. Hollywood has played a significant role in perpetuating myths about Cleopatra, often portraying her as a sultry temptress in films and literature. These romanticized depictions have clouded the historical record. One of the most persistent Hollywood fictions is the idea that Cleopatra was of Middle Eastern or African origin. In reality, she was of Greek descent, born in Alexandria, and a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Additionally, the notion that she used her beauty to seduce and manipulate powerful men, such as Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, oversimplifies her diplomatic and political skills. Cleopatra's intellect, education, and linguistic abilities were just as crucial in her relationships with these figures. Another Hollywood trope is the depiction of Cleopatra's death as a glamorous suicide, complete with dramatic gestures. Historical accounts suggest a more practical and calculated end to her life, driven by a desire to maintain control over her fate rather than romantic tragedy. The real Cleopatra emerges as a multifaceted figure, far more than the sum of Hollywood's romanticized parts. She was a shrewd diplomat, a capable ruler, and a patron of arts and culture. Cleopatra's linguistic abilities were a testament to her intelligence. She was fluent in multiple languages, which allowed her to communicate with a diverse population within her kingdom and negotiate with foreign leaders. Her reign saw a resurgence of Egyptian cultural and religious traditions, a testament to her commitment to the nation's heritage. Cleopatra was known to be a patron of scholars and thinkers, fostering an environment of intellectual flourishing in Alexandria. While her relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony are well documented, they were not merely affairs of the heart. Cleopatra saw these alliances as vital to Egypt's survival in the turbulent political landscape of the time. Her efforts to secure her kingdom's autonomy and sovereignty were driven by political pragmatism as much as personal attachment. In dispelling the myths surrounding Cleopatra, we can appreciate the real woman behind the legend. She was a visionary leader, a gifted linguist, and a determined defender of Egypt's interests in a world dominated by Rome. Cleopatra's legacy transcends the boundaries of time, leaving an indelible mark on history and culture. Her influence can be felt in various domains, from politics to literature, and her story continues to captivate and inspire. In the realm of politics, Cleopatra's ability to navigate the turbulent waters of the ancient world serves as a testament to her diplomatic skills and leadership. Her alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, though ultimately unsuccessful, demonstrated her determination to protect Egypt's sovereignty. Her story remains a case study in political strategy and statecraft. Cleopatra's cultural legacy is equally profound. Her reign witnessed a flourishing of Egyptian arts, literature, and scholarship. She patronized poets, philosophers, and scientists, fostering a cultural renaissance in Alexandria. Her support for these intellectual pursuits left an enduring mark on the world of knowledge. Cleopatra's portrayal in literature, art, and popular culture has been as diverse as it has been enduring. From Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra to the iconic portrayals by Elizabeth Taylor and other actresses in film and television, her story has been adapted and reimagined countless times. Artistic representations often emphasize her legendary beauty, with artists throughout history depicting her as an alluring and seductive figure. Her image has graced countless paintings, sculptures, and other works of art, contributing to the enduring fascination with her. In popular culture, Cleopatra's name has become synonymous with power, allure, and intrigue. Her story has inspired novels, plays, operas, and even video games. Whether as a captivating historical figure or a symbol of female empowerment, Cleopatra's presence in modern culture endures. Cleopatra's life and leadership offer several valuable lessons that remain relevant today. Her ability to form strategic alliances and adapt to changing circumstances was key to her survival in a tumultuous political landscape. Her skill in diplomacy and her capacity to work with influential figures from different cultures highlight the importance of diplomacy in achieving political goals. Cleopatra's commitment to intellectual pursuits and support for scholars underscore the importance of fostering a culture of learning and innovation. Her patronage of arts and sciences contributed to the intellectual flourishing of her time. Resilience and tenacity, Cleopatra faced numerous challenges and setbacks throughout her life, from exile to political upheaval. Her resilience and determination to protect her kingdom serve as a reminder of the value of perseverance in the face of adversity. Cleopatra's leadership was marked by the intricate interplay of personal and political motives. Her story reminds us that leaders are multifaceted individuals who must balance personal relationships with the responsibilities of governance. Her enduring legacy illustrates the lasting impact that individuals can have on history and culture. Her name continues to evoke fascination and curiosity, serving as a testament to the enduring power of influential figures. In sum, Cleopatra's legacy is a rich tapestry of political acumen, cultural patronage, and enduring fascination. Her life offers valuable insights into leadership, diplomacy, and the complexities of historical figures.